What if I told you that in the mountains of Utah, people have disappeared in places where search teams believe they should have been found quickly, and yet, in case after case, the land seemed to give back almost nothing? This chapter takes us into the Uinta Mountains, a rugged wilderness region in northeastern Utah, and into several disappearances that appear unrelated at first glance. A 19-year-old fisherman, a 3-year-old girl near the Colorado River, 2 young men who vanish near a reservoir, a 12-year-old Boy Scout who disappears beside his father, an 11-year-old who reappears days later with almost no memory, a 78-year-old author near Canyonlands, and a 35-year-old hunter near Big Mountain. But if you stay until the end, one pattern begins to emerge. These cases are not strange because they happened in the wilderness. They are strange because of where they happened, what was left behind, and how little the searches were able to explain. The Uinta Mountains contain the main cluster of missing people in Utah discussed in this chapter. It is a remote region, categorized as wilderness, meaning vehicles cannot simply drive through the area. Much of the region is connected to the Ashley National Forest, with lakes, mountains, trails, steep terrain, and isolated areas where weather can change fast and search efforts can become complicated. Every case in this chapter is east of Highway 15, and almost all are connected to remote outdoor environments. The first case is Raymond Ewer, a 19-year-old who disappeared in 1969 near Island Lake in the Uinta Mountains. Raymond had traveled from Washington Terrace, Utah, with his father and 2 friends for a weekend fishing trip. They were fishing around Island Lake when Raymond decided to fish by himself near the edge of the water. When it was time to return, Raymond was gone. His father and friends searched the area but could not find him, and eventually authorities were called. Searchers later found a sheep herder several miles away who said he had seen Raymond and given him directions toward Island Lake. But one detail stands out. Raymond reportedly had food and water, but he had asked only for water. Why would someone carrying supplies ask a stranger for water? Was he disoriented? Was he exhausted? Or had something already happened that changed his behavior? The search for Raymond Ewer became one of the longest in Utah history at the time. Canines, motorcycles, horses, aircraft, and ground crews searched thousands of acres. Volunteers searched the region where Raymond was last seen. Yet Raymond was never found. No body, no clear trail, no final answer. And 7 years later, another case in the same region would add to the mystery. That case is Jennifer Lee Klein, a 3-year-old girl who disappeared in 1974 along the Colorado River near Moab, Utah. Jennifer and her family were camping along the river with other groups nearby and people moving around the area. She was playing in the sand near the river while her family was close. Her father walked back to the vehicle for something, and when he returned, Jennifer was gone. Law enforcement immediately searched the area and the river, but no trace of her was found. Her parents said they could not remember anyone in the camp being questioned or identified by law enforcement, and they never saw an official record identifying people who were nearby. The river was an obvious concern, but Jennifer's body never surfaced. The case remained open, and this creates the first loop of curiosity. If a child disappears from a busy campsite near other people, and the river is searched, and no body is found, what happened in those few minutes when her father looked away? Then the chapter moves to 1985 and the disappearances of David Matthew Jaramillo and Lloyd Reese at East Canyon Reservoir near Salt Lake City. David and Lloyd were friends, both 21 years old. They were supposed to meet a group of friends at the reservoir, but later that day they vanished. Both were last seen in a brown Datsun driven by David. For years, the case remained a mystery. Then, in 2010, authorities announced that the case would remain open due to new and additional evidence. A detective stated that it was one of the smallest pieces of information that might someday help close the case, and investigators hoped that families or friends who knew something would come forward. David's father believed the boys were either accidentally killed or something unfortunate happened to them. Lloyd's sister said she did not believe there were no formal suspects and that no additional evidence had been made public. The details are limited, But the case stands out because two young men disappeared together near a reservoir, and decades later, investigators still appeared to believe there was more to learn. Then comes Daniel Edmonds Jr., a 22-year-old who disappeared in 1995 near Salem, Utah. He was last seen after visiting a family member's home. Afterward, he went hiking in the mountains nearby. His vehicle was later found near trails in the Diamond Fork region south of Salem. A search of the area failed to locate him, and few details were available. Like several other cases, Daniel's disappearance leaves only the outline of a mystery: a young man, a mountain trail, a found vehicle, and no final trace. But the most disturbing and emotional case in this chapter is Garrett Bardsley. Garrett was 12 years old when he disappeared in 2004 near Q Brant Lake in the Uinta Mountains. Garrett and his father, Kevin Bardsley, were camping with a Boy Scout group. They were in a remote basin at high elevation, surrounded by lakes, mountains, steep terrain, and cold water. On the morning of August 20th, Garrett and his father got up early to fish. They walked from camp toward the lake, and Garrett stepped into the water and got his shoes and pants wet. Because they were not catching anything and Garrett was cold, he decided to head back to camp to change. His father watched him start walking the correct path back. Garrett was familiar with the area, the distance was short, and the route seemed simple. But Garrett never made it to camp. When Kevin returned, he immediately realized Garrett was missing. He ran back to the lake, called for him, and search efforts began. The Summit County Sheriff's Office was notified, and a massive search started. The FBI was reportedly asked for assistance. Searchers found Garrett's sock in a field of boulders roughly half a mile from where he was last seen. His mother identified it as his sock. Then the weather changed. A storm moved into the area with freezing rain, hail, and snow at higher elevations. Search operations became much more difficult. Law enforcement stated there was no evidence that Garrett had been abducted, and they believed he may have become lost while trying to return to camp and later died from exposure. But the author questions that explanation deeply. How does a 12-year-old boy, who was very close to camp, fail to make it back on a simple route? Why would his sock be found in the middle of a boulder field? Why would he go uphill or toward dangerous terrain instead of down toward the lake or back toward camp? Why did searchers fail to find him despite an intense effort? Garrett's case is compared to other missing boys, including Dennis Martin, Samuel Bulk, and Danny Greenwood. Children who vanished while with family or groups in wilderness areas and left behind mysteries that never fully resolved. And this is where the second curiosity loop appears. If Garrett was only trying to return to camp, why does the evidence seem to point away from the easiest path? Less than a year later, another boy vanished in the Uinta Mountains under circumstances that appear eerily similar. His name was Brennan Hawkins, and he was 11 years old. Brennan was with about 1,400 Boy Scouts at Bear River Boy Scout Camp in June of 2005. On a Friday evening, he had just climbed a rock wall and was removing his climbing gear. Others in the area saw him taking off the harness and believed he was heading to the shower. Then he disappeared. The search for Brennan became intense. Kevin Bardsley, Garrett's father, responded to assist the family, bringing with him the painful experience of having searched for his own son in the same general region. Search teams set up grids and patterns, focusing heavily on areas uphill from where Brennan was last seen. For days, the search produced no significant success. Then, on Tuesday, a search team looking uphill found Brennan standing on an ATV trail. He was alive. He was muddy, wet, and cold, but alive. Official reports stated that Brennan had walked straight up a ridge for several miles from where he went missing. Later, his parents said Brennan did not remember much from the days he was missing. They said he did not push anyone away when found, and he apparently believed he had only been gone for 1 or 2 nights, not 4. This case raises a completely different kind of question. When a missing child is found alive, everyone is relieved. But what if the child cannot explain what happened? Why did Brennan go uphill? Why did he not respond to searchers? Why did he lose track of time? And why does his case share geography, season, age range, and timing similarities with Garrett Bardsley's disappearance only months earlier. The author suggests that understanding the behavior and memory of people who are found alive may be critical to understanding the missing who are never recovered. That idea becomes the third curiosity loop. Maybe the key to these cases is not only where the victims were found, but what they remembered or failed to remember afterward. The chapter then moves away from children and into adult disappearances. Kenneth R. Schneider, a 78-year-old author, disappeared in 2005 near Canyonlands National Park. Kenneth was visiting the area after arriving on a trip from Washington. He was driving near Canyonlands when his vehicle became stuck in a ditch in Stevens Canyon. A couple found him and helped him get the vehicle unstuck. Later, they returned and discovered the vehicle stuck again, but Kenneth was gone. They found a note stating that he was walking to a nearby archaeological site, roughly 8 miles away. The terrain was isolated, sitting near the edge between desert and forest, miles from the nearest major highway. Law enforcement searched for Kenneth, but he was never found. Because of his age, his family and investigators did not believe he could have traveled far without trouble. Yet he left behind no clear trace. The final case in this chapter is Clinton Jason Danes, a 35-year-old avid outdoorsman who disappeared in 2009 near Big Mountain Monument, east of Salt Lake City. Clinton apparently went deer hunting on opening day. His pickup truck was found in the parking lot near East Canyon, and inside the vehicle law enforcement found a Glock pistol and an empty box of 9mm ammunition. They later found he had recently purchased a new Glock. Big Mountain Monument is a dramatic location, marking a historic Mormon trail site and sitting near the head of Emigration Canyon. Searchers combed the area but found nothing. Clinton was never located. There are few leads in the case. By the end of this chapter, the Utah pattern becomes deeply unsettling. These disappearances happen in wilderness, near lakes, rivers, reservoirs, trails, and mountain basins. Some involve children. Some involve adults. Some involve experienced outdoorsmen. Some leave behind vehicles. Some leave behind clothing or personal items. Some victims are found alive but cannot clearly explain what happened. Others vanish permanently. And the most disturbing part is that several of these cases cluster in the same region, the Uinta Mountains, during similar seasons and under similar conditions. So what are we supposed to believe? Did Raymond Ewer become lost while fishing? Did Jennifer Klein fall into the Colorado River without ever being recovered? Did David Jaramillo and Lloyd Reese meet with an accident or something darker? Did Garrett Bardsley get lost on a short path back to camp? Did Brennan Hawkins simply wander uphill for days and lose track of time? Did Kenneth Schneider walk into the desert and vanish? Did Clinton Danes disappear while hunting? Maybe every case has a normal explanation. But when the same details repeat, missing children near adults, people moving uphill instead of towards safety, found vehicles, missing clothing, failed searches, bodies never recovered, and survivors with missing memories, the simple explanations begin to feel incomplete. Utah's wilderness is vast, cold, beautiful, and unforgiving. But in these cases, the land seems to do more than hide people. It seems to confuse the story itself. And maybe that is the real mystery. Not just that people vanish, but that when they do, every clue seems to lead to another question.